O wizard young, who art in Washington, to justice be thy name. Thy coaching come, thy games be won, on stage as they are in scrims. Give us this stage our single win, and forgive us our choking, as we forgive those who choke against us. And lead us not into throwing, but deliver us from Papegateer. For thine is the standings, the map record, and the glory. Until next season. Amen. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Broverwatch podcast, the show with hot questions and even hotter wings. Today I'm here with Calder.
Nice.
Amos Wood. Calder, you're back and blue. I was going to say back in black, but you're back in blue.
Yeah. Black and blue, baby.
Nope, not black and blue. Back and blue. Oh, you have black shorts. Those shorts are quite short. For those of you who don't know, my name is Adam Cook, and I'm here joined with Calder Amos Wood. We are the two children of the light.
Is that what your big plan was?
No.
Okay.
We're the children of the light of this podcast. Calder, would you consider yourself a child of the light?
No, because the light made me sick. And now I have pneumonia. That's not true. I just have a cough. And I peed blood.
For those of you who don't know, the Broverwatch podcast is a podcast where two children of the light talk about... That's my new one, because you hate
Yeah, we
boys.
can do that.
I'm
good with Children of the Light.
Overwatch League and games of the past week. So we're just going to...
We can make merch out of that.
We could make merch out of it, except we're not going to, because only we can buy it.
I'm going to make it put on my stream store. I got a bunch of followers while I wasn't streaming.
Oh, wow.
All fake.
All of them bots. You purchased every single one. So today we're going to be talking about 5 teams?
Six-ish.
Six-ish teams. It was a good week. Calder watched how many?
A couple. Was very sick and lots of travel still.
For me, almost every single night, I was like, I'm going to do this tonight. And then I'd be like, I should probably check Overwatch League to see like how whatever game is on is going. And then I'd watch the entire night, every single night. So it was pretty good.
And that's how you have 9 trillion Overwatch League tokens.
I have so many tokens. So many tokens. And yeah, so it's been a pretty good week. A lot of things to touch on, so we are going to do so. But first, before we get into it, I didn't mention this before the show, but McGravy tweeted out the eyes emoji, which is the universal Overwatch League sign for something's happening. So, a lot of people are thinking that McGravy will be signed to either Washington or Houston. I think Washington, because Houston doesn't really need him.
Also, Houston won't.
Yeah, Houston won't because they can't afford it. But, yeah, I think it's more likely Washington because Washington's actually been making moves to improve their team, unlike Houston.
Yeah.
Just say it.
And it would kind of make sense with the way Washington seems to be going.
Yeah.
With the sleepy pickup and then...
It's funny how... I mean, Giannis did pretty well this week, but it's funny how, for the most part, the weakest links of Washington are actually the Korean players. And a lot of people are pointing out how Florida and Washington are, like, perfect examples of how just having a full Korean roster doesn't make you a good team. You need to have good coaching. You need to have good synergy. You need to have all these things. You can't just be like, oh, we're all Korean.
And it's kind of weird that, like, I could have told you that.
Yeah.
Not that.
You and I have been saying that for a while. And we're not the only ones who have been saying it. So I'm glad. Yeah. That's part of why I'm starting to like Washington a bit more. Because they're trying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not doing amazing, but they're trying. Houston isn't trying. The players are trying, but the organization is not.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. But yeah, so hopefully McGravy goes to Washington. I think that would be a really good pickup for them.
Yeah.
And
he's good too, which
yeah,
it'd be good to have him back in the league to show that it's like, oh, he's not just fucked because stupid organizations.
Yeah. And we interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important message. So we recorded the podcast Monday, and then I was going to edit it today, which is Tuesday, and upload it. And then some big news came out, so I just had to add this little boy.
The Children of Justice. You didn't introduce me or anything, so I felt weird.
Well, it's because this isn't a podcast. This is going in the podcast where we've already introduced ourselves.
That's fun.
And the Children of Justice meme hasn't been created yet because this is going at the beginning.
Oh, well, you fucked me then.
No, because this is a thing that's not game related, so of course it's going to go with the McGravy thing. So we didn't talk much about this beforehand. So the big news is that Trill of Team Envious and also of Team Australia has been signed to Dallas Fuel main roster. Now, surface level.
You like that?
Yeah, I did. Surface level, this seems like cool. Trill's in Overwatch. Cool. They have a really good backup tank for OG. But as you get into it, a couple things unfold. A couple questions unfold, and those questions make you make assumptions, and those assumptions make you make predictions. So here's what's happening. This is how my thought process went. Oh, cool, Trill's in Overwatch League. And then I went, wait, so he's going to back up OG, in talks to be one of the best main tanks in the whole league right now? And then
on a team that's like top 6 too.
Yeah. And then I go, that's interesting. Why would Trill sign just to be on the bench? And then I went, oh, maybe he's a two-way player just so that he's a good backup. Not a two-way contract. It is a full, he's been signed. So not only is he just a full backup and not like just a kind of emergency backup, but he's also not going to be able to play with Team Envious for the showdown match that's coming up soon.
No. It's my pizza person.
It's okay. Yeah, answer it, of course. Don't mute. Unmute. There you go.
Oh, okay. I'll be there in a second. Can we just like pause this?
Yeah, I can pause.
He's literally here. I'm sorry.
It's all good. What Calder doesn't know is that I'm not going to pause it. I'm just going to talk about how...
Come talk to Adam. Keep him company.
And Calder got his pizza. Anyway, so...
Double cheese, ham, pepperoni.
That's good. That's very good. So what I'm pretty much saying is, once you start to think about it, Trill... Once you start to think about it, you realize, why would they sign one of the top... contenders main tanks to back up one of the top Overwatch League main tanks?
But okay, I get that and everything, but there's a lot of theories going around about like trades and what OG will do, but also Trill is playing in Australia still, so the fact that he has to move to play with Dallas and be with Dallas, I think that's probably a big factor for him.
Yeah.
Because this is an opportunity. Like, this is the opportunity.
But here's my thing. It is the opportunity, but I'd argue he's a player that could easily get signed with a team like Washington where he will play.
Yeah.
Which makes me think he wouldn't do this if he didn't think he would play, which makes me think something's happening with OGE. And
yeah,
the debate is he getting traded? Or pretty much there's two ideas I have. Either he's getting traded to another team.
OG.
Which, OG Washington, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
Oh.
And McGravy?
Yeah, McGravy and OG would be great on that team. I don't think that's what's going to happen, though.
No.
My prediction, OG tweeted out saying that, also, I might get these dates wrong. I know I'll get one of them right because it's today. But he said big things will be happening on May 7th, and big things for him will be happening on May 17th.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is he's been talking a lot, apparently, about how he wants to go back to school and he wants to go to college and learn. So my prediction is that he's going to play for the All-Star stuff, do All-Star weekend, and then
pull a little Dufresne and dip out.
He's pretty much gonna.
I
I think after All Stars, he's gonna pretty much be like, "Hey guys, I want to go back to school, so Trill's taking my place."
Yeah,
which
I get that.
As someone who likes OG and thinks he's a great boy, I say good for you. If you think you should go back to school, do so. As just someone who watches Overwatch League, I have two thoughts about it. One, I don't want him to do that because he's one of the best tanks in the league right now.
Yeah.
And he's doing crazy well. And second thing is, you can go to college anytime. But being an esports pro is something that only lasts a small amount of time. And that's just my objective stance. Like, whether you like OG or not, whether you think he's the best main tank or not, whether you, I don't know, no matter what your opinion on this is, like, you can go to college anytime, but you can't always be esports pro level. Because, like it or not, there's an age range there. Now, OG is 19. So he's got time. But also,
she's probably 20 now. They just haven't updated this.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen, but that's my prediction, is that he's going to go back to school and Trill is their new main tank, which sucks from an Overwatch League standpoint because he's just in the past couple weeks, people have been realizing how truly good he is.
Yeah.
Now, what's your opinion? Because I just spent 20 minutes saying mine.
I think Trill probably would have done this either way because he wasn't getting a lot of offers, and he's been saying that. We don't know that. Well, he's been saying that.
Okay, never mind. We do know that
because there was he was like, "Oh, still in contenders, playing with 300 ping." Like, he got the offer to play with Envious, but he's in Australia still. So getting the salary from an Overwatch League team and then being able to live in the team house is probably a much bigger buying factor for him than a lot of stuff now. I could see, I don't think they'd announce OG getting traded on the 17th, so I think it would have to be him going to school.
Yeah.
Or leaving to do something. Because they wouldn't be like, oh, he's going to be traded in 10 days.
I think there's a possibility they keep him on the roster as, like, something. Or not on the roster necessarily, but as a part of the team.
Yeah, for some just like his contract.
Reason, just so that they still have him. But, I don't... I was going to say I think this is bad news for OG, but if it's because he wants to go to school, then it's good news for OG. But, like, just from an objective perspective, I personally think that he could still wait a bit.
Yeah.
Because that's like if... I feel so dumb making sports comparisons because I don't know anything about them. But, like, Kawhi Leonard on the Toronto Raptors right now, all right? He wasn't, like, crazy good before he was traded, right? Like, he was good, but he wasn't crazy good.
Well, people just didn't know about him, but yeah.
Yeah. So then he gets traded to Toronto, much like how OG got signed to Dallas. and like it's pretty much what I'm saying is it's like if Kawhi Leonard like announced like, oh, I want to go to medical school and left, and it's like, but you're
Yeah.
like you're at the top of your game right now.
Yeah. It's like a 28-year-old NBA player being like, I'm just kind of done, because that's the prime for an NBA player is like 26 to 30 basically.
Yeah.
So it's like Michael Jordan when he left for 2 years and he was just like, I'm gonna play basketball now, and then he came back and he was still good, but I'm not sure, like, OG, depending on how much school he wants to do, if he leaves and does 4 years, he's 25, 24, 25. And that's kind of old for esports. That's the average age of Houston.
Yeah.
So that tells you something.
Yeah.
Trash.
When the highest age in the league is 29, you kind of want to not take too much time off.
Yeah. About, like, because Trill can just be like, if OG doesn't leave, Trill can still just stay as a backup, which is fine. But backups do get picked up if they can prove themselves. Like,
that's
Baby Bay
the
didn't
one
play
other option is that he was just signed to trade.
Mm-hmm. Baby Bay didn't play for like a year and still got traded for. And Trill's been playing in contenders.
So that is the one other option I think is possible, that Trill was signed so that they have like a star pickup to trade for something else, even if it's just money.
Yeah.
I just think it would be weird if it was like, welcome Trill to the Overwatch League, welcome to the Dallas Fuel, yeah, bye. Bye.
Well, it could be like months down the road, but
yeah. But like, I think
I think the most likely is OG's going to school on the 17th or going to do something on the 17th, and then Trill's just the main.
In which case is good for Trill. I think the worst case scenario. Here's what I think the best case scenario is. As a viewer, by the way, like, obviously OG can do whatever he wants, but like, as a viewer, the best case scenario is OG stays on and they signed Trill to trade him and Trill goes to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Or, since I like Washington better than Dallas, Trill stays on Dallas and OG goes to Washington, because that would be amazing, hilarious. Worst case scenario is OG stays on Dallas and Trill stays on Dallas and Trill just never plays.
Yeah, and then he might get picked up the next season.
Yeah.
If, Florida realizes that all Korean isn't always good. But
the reason I say that's worst case scenario is because, like, as much as they still practice and stuff, when you're sitting on the bench, your skills are, like, slightly deteriorating just because you're not playing on stage so much. Like, it happened with Baby Bay a little bit. Like, he was nuts, and then he didn't play for, like, almost 2 seasons. And when he
added heroes, though.
Yeah.
He was, like, he added a lot of heroes.
But what I'm saying is, like, I'm just saying you're not at the top of your game as much as when you're playing on stage. So, like, if Trill rides the bench for half a season, he's not going to be at the level he is now necessarily if he is picked up for season 2. So, best case scenario, OG stays, Trill gets traded to another team where he'll start. Worst case scenario, Trill stays, OG stays, Trill doesn't play.
Yeah.
But obviously, middle option, which we think is the option, is OG's going to school and Trill is the new fuel main tank, which is bittersweet.
Yeah.
Anything else to say on this?
Nope.
Anyway, that tiny little interjection segment took longer than I thought. Hopefully I can edit it a little bit. Anyway, on to the games. So yeah, we're going to start not to talk about the teams, we're going to start off hot. We're going to start off golden, you might say. We're going to be talking about the San Francisco Shock, who finished the first ever golden stage, as they're calling it, because they not only won every single game, but every single game was a 4-0. They didn't drop a single map all stage.
Yeah.
Now, some people are trying to discredit them by saying that they had an easy stage, and for the most part, they had a pretty easy stage. But still to not drop a single map.
Yeah.
Vancouver drops maps all the time. Same with New York. Everybody's dropping maps. New York's even losing to teams like Atlanta. By teams like Atlanta, I mean only Atlanta. Because we're so good, baby. But,
yeah,
like, none of the top teams have gone full 100% map wins.
Yeah.
Which is impressive.
And I think the schedule strength thing is sort of important here because, like, we talked about this before this stage started, where I looked at it and I was like, oh, wow, look at this. This is amazing. Their hardest opponent is Philly.
Yeah.
And that's even, oh my God. And that's Philly, right?
Here, have a hard cough right now and also get some water. For those of you listening on audio, he was putting his finger up and going, 1 second. He was just doing us the courtesy of muting himself. What were we talking about? We were talking about shock and map toughness. Right. Yeah, so shock had a somewhat easy stage, you could say. But I wouldn't even say that Philly was their hardest team, because Philly's, like, I'd say the perfect example of an average team now, which is hilarious to say. But I'd say the hardest team they faced was probably Shanghai. Shanghai gave them their toughest match, and then probably Hangzhou, honestly. But Shanghai gave them their toughest match.
Standings wise, it was Hangzhou, then Shanghai, and then Philly.
Yeah,
and that's below, like, that's not even top 6 teams.
Yeah,
this stage.
Yeah, but Shanghai easily, like, Shanghai's or San Francisco's 4-0 over Shanghai was closer than most 3-2 games. Like, it was so close. So yeah. So you could say that San Francisco had an easy map or an easy schedule for stage 2, and they do, but still to not drop a single map. That's insane.
And even the casters were kind of talking about it while it was happening, when they'd go up on Gibraltar and be basically spawn camping teams.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, they're doing this now. Okay.
And I was watching Avast's stream along with the stream, which, by the way, if you're not, they're very entertaining. But they were doing a thing where people were buying and selling stocks based on like predictions. So people were buying San Francisco stocks, and then they kept going, oh no, they're throwing, because, like, I don't know, Shanghai would do something good, and then they'd be like, sell your stocks, but then San Francisco would just win. They were so, I forgot what the stat was, but Zoe showed a stat where it's like, they have first death in a fight like 32% of the time, which is pretty good. And then 42% of the time, by the way, I'm probably off by a couple digits, but like, but 42% of the time, when they get killed first, they still win.
Oh, so there's still like a 50-50 chance.
It's basically 50-50, even if they lose first person. And Super was talking about it, and he's like, it's just because we have a plan. And when someone dies, we don't go, uh-oh. We just keep going with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Just without that person. Now, obviously, if there's specific players that die, then you can't continue with the plan. But
yeah,
so they're just really good at winning lost fights and organizing. And here's the thing: they've pretty much only played goats. I'm pretty sure they have only played goats, but I'm fine with that because they play it well, and so it's entertaining when they play it because they play it well.
Yeah, like Florida going goats.
Watching Houston try goats makes me want a KMS.
Yeah. Like, what's the point even?
Yeah.
I know we talked about their game against the Titans, but, like, how is their best chance at winning this stage against the Titans? Like, how'd they just fall apart after that? Isn't that ridiculous?
Here's the thing. I've realized something because I do the timestamps for the video for different discussion topics. I've had a Houston rant every week for the past 4 weeks.
So we're not going to do one.
And they all last at least 2 minutes each, some of them longer. But yeah, Houston's just tough. I was telling Calder beforehand that I was talking to someone on Reddit about how Washington's doing really well at like trying to improve. Like, even though they're still losing, they won this week, which we'll get to, but like they're trying to improve and actually making changes. And it's making me like them better than one of the teams I cheer for, which is Houston. Because they aren't trying. The players are trying. They're trying their hardest, but the organization is so broke and so doesn't care that No, I'm not accusing like coaches and like managers of not caring. There's no change. Yeah. There's no changes happening.
Mm-hmm.
There's changes that are very clear that need to happen, but they're not happening just because they don't have any money.
Yeah.
But it's a mix of two things, okay? No money and not willing to admit that there's problems. The players always...
That's the worst part to me.
Yeah.
Is Flame's whole, like, he's never done anything wrong.
Most of the players after a loss will be like, we're doing so bad, we're so sorry, we're going back to the drawing board and we're going to keep trying. But whenever it's like, this is a problem with your team, it seems like the organization's like, no, you don't understand, Reddit coaches. It's like, maybe give us a bit more credit because you've been bad for 1.5 seasons.
Yeah.
You went winless this stage with 4 map wins.
And was their schedule disproportionately hard? Not really.
Like,
Guangzhou's a winnable game.
Like, they lost against... Okay.
It was pretty hard.
Okay,
I guess that's thinking about them being Houston, but...
They didn't play week 1. They lost against Vancouver, which was their closest game. What? They got 4-0'd by Philly. Should have at least gotten 1 map off that. They got 3-0'd by Dragons. Oh, you got a tied map? They got 4-0'd by Seoul.
I shouldn't have brought them up.
They got 4-0'd by Seoul. Seoul's been looking actually somewhat decent. Actually, their closest game was against Dallas, which was fitting because it made the Dallas homestand actually entertaining. But they could have done... Actually, no, I'm not going to say they could have done better. That's when they looked their best. They had a 3-2 game against Guangzhou, which you got close. Why couldn't... And then London...
A struggling Guangzhou team, by the way. Yeah. Like, they're not even... It's not even Guangzhou from last stage.
Yeah.
So
London, this was the first ever regular season game loss to London for Houston, and it was a 4-0 stomp. Yikes, guys. Anyway, enough about Houston because I want to die.
Yeah. Anyway, let's take a quick look to the Shock's future and see if they can repeat their golden shower of a stage.
Golden shower.
So, looking at who they're playing, they've got Atlanta week 1.
That could be
Winnable.
easily 4-0.
They've got Houston.
Oh,
and this
that's
is week
a
2.
guaranteed 4-0.
They've got Seoul, which
Seoul
is...
could take a map or two, but
Yeah. They also could 4-0 them.
yeah.
Like, that's the thing. They've got Boston and Florida in week 3.
That could both be 4-0s.
Chengdu and London in week 4.
London is so up and down, so it depends on how they're playing, but both of those could be 4-0s.
And that's it. They don't play at the Atlanta homestand.
Oh my gosh.
So it could be. This will be harder. And this will be much more impressive if they do pull off the... I don't like Golden Stage at all.
Well, they're calling
Perfect
they're
Stage?
calling it the Golden Stage because it's the
San
Golden
Francisco
State.
to go. Oh. I don't
So
like
it's
that.
like they got the first one, so it's the Golden Stage. And because if you say perfect stage, that just sounds like it's got all wins. You just don't like Golden Stage because you immediately think of P because you're a dirty-minded freak.
Okay, you didn't have to call me a freak.
I mean it in the most positive way possible.
I don't think this is a positive way.
So yeah, anyway, just on the point of the shock, I personally think that if Shock meets Vancouver in the finals, Shock will win.
I
think
see that.
Shock is the best team in the league right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hot take. It's like a lukewarm take.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd say it's like a microwaved take, like a microwaved
How
leftovers take, like 30 seconds. You just hit the quick thing.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like you take it out and you're like, "Ooh, this is hot," but then like you start to eat it and you're like, "It's just kind of warm."
I was thinking like pizza that you and your friends ordered, but like it was a little too big, so there's a little bit left, and you're halfway, a third into the movie, but you ordered it at the start of the movie, so it's like just a little warm now.
Or when you order an Uber Eats and they had to travel just long enough that it's like not really hot and ready.
Yeah.
I think people understand the picture now.
That's Papa John's. No, that's Little Caesars.
That's
hot
Little
and ready.
Caesars hot and ready. Anyway.
Also, who eats Little Caesars?
It's the best of the fast food pizzas.
I know, but I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying who eats Little Caesars.
I honestly haven't in a while. There's not one near me.
That's the thing.
Anyway, so Shock, I genuinely think are the best team in the league right now. Hot take. At me on Twitter, please. I'd like to yell at you. At I'm a dumb cook on Twitter. At me. Which, by the way, don't know if you noticed, good boy Danny Lim responded to us on Instagram. Or not Instagram.
He was you made him cry.
I made him cry. Well, because in the post-match thing, like the post-match game, the post-broadcast watch point.
You'll be okay.
Thanks. He was translating for IDK, and Bren was pretty much like, "Can you explain what was going through your head for that massive boop you did? Like, was that intentional or was that luck?" And then IDK talked for like 2 minutes, and then Danny was like, and then he translated basically the whole thing except for once where he was like, "1 second," and then asked IDK a couple more questions. Then he's like, "Okay," and it just made me go, not only did he listen to everything IDK said, but in his head he translated it to English and he spoke it in English in a way that not only would be accurate to what he said, but like is exactly like there's so many intricacies of the game that he had to pinpoint. So not only does he have to be able to translate it perfectly, but he has to understand the game himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like,
and also just remember what he said, because it's not like he's talking while IDK's talking like they do at some sports or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like the guy will be talking, they'll be like translating it on the fly. He waits so that they can talk.
Yeah.
And then does it, which is even more impressive.
Which is why when people are like, "Oh, Emily Tang said that this player said, I don't know, I'm really proud of our win, but we're going to crush them next time," when really what they said more accurately was, we're really proud of our win. We hope that we'll beat them next time as well. What a bad translator. I'm like, okay. Like,
let's calm down.
Like,
you translated that from... You were sitting behind your computer when you translated that.
Yeah, you literally typed it into Google Images and went, this is more accurate.
Google Images.
Anyway,
nice.
So I just wanted to shout out, I was thinking of tagging the other translators as well, and by other translators, I mean Emily
Tay.
And then just shouting out Mika for being there.
Because you want to...
No.
Well, maybe.
This isn't appropriate for the podcast. And also, no.
It's a Christian server.
So anyway, I just wanted to shout out Danny for popping off on that language.
Christian Discord server, baby.
So anyway, Shock is crazy good. Next team. Let's talk about London.
Yeah. I'm not convinced about London.
I
haven't watched a lot the last
good.
2 weeks.
I'm not convinced that they're always good.
Mm-hmm. I'm not convinced that they're third place, because that's where they are this stage. They went 6-1.
I genuinely think that London, when they're playing at their best, could be argued to be the best Overwatch team.
Mm-hmm.
But they play at their best about like 40% of the time.
I'd say less, because the last stage was kind of like they basically took a whole stage off.
Maybe. How tough was their stage?
This stage was not at all. Really.
Was it
the hard? We kind of talked about this before. The hardest is Philly, Atlanta. Chengdu is pretty difficult. That's the one they lost. Boston, but they didn't play they didn't play in New York, a Vancouver, Shock this stage.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy stage. I guess stage playoffs will tell. Because like I'd say now, just judging, they're like Hangzhou level. Like, because I feel like Hangzhou and London are very similar, because they have a ton of ups and downs. But when they're on their ups, they're crazy good. I just think Hangzhou, which we'll get to later, has been a bit more consistent than London.
They didn't play a single team that's in the stage playoffs.
Yeah.
London. That's kind of a yikes.
A bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, London had a pretty easy stage. So, stage playoffs will tell whether they are on the up or whether they just had an easy stage.
And their first game is against
Hangzhou.
Their stage playoffs game is against Hangzhou. So I could honestly see Hangzhou win.
Yeah.
If London doesn't show up to it, they're like really good form.
Yeah.
Because Hangzhou's been on an upswing. I guess Crystal was kind of a spark plug for them.
Do you want to just talk about Hangzhou now?
Might as well.
Okay. Because there's not much more to say about London other than we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Hangzhou has been, they've kind of been the team of inconsistency, because they were crazy good early stage 1, and then they dropped off hard late stage 1. Yeah. And then this stage they've been doing, or they started off a little rough, but they really pulled it up near the end. And I think it's firstly adding Crystal to the lineup, and second, I think Crystal being there makes the communication a bit better, because Gushui isn't the one man out.
Yeah.
So I think they've just figured out some communication stuff. And IDK was talking about how because Gushui and Crystal have been getting the post-match interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, it's just because they're the Chinese players and they're more popular or something like that. Yeah. But then IDK was like, no, it's because they're really good. It's like, I haven't not been interviewed because I'm not good or I'm not Chinese. I haven't been interviewed because they've been doing crazy well.
Yeah.
But he was interviewed. So.
Yeah. Their 2 losses came against, try to guess without looking.
Guangzhou No,
Their
yeah,
losses?
Guangzhou. Yeah. I know they had a close match with Guangzhou,
Hmm.
so that's one of my guesses, even though I think they might have won.
Well, that's not it.
Okay, well, they had a close match with
Think
Guangzhou, though,
about,
right?
yeah, they did. It was 3-2. But think about, like, teams that are very unfairly good.
Unfairly good? Oh,
Like, it's unfair how
Vancouver.
good they are. Yeah.
Shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hangzhou's been doing great. They have looked much better. Like, and the thing is, their game against Shock was actually quite close. That's the game where people realized, oh, they're actually doing well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Spark is on the upswing as well. Also, we're not going to really talk about them, so I'm just going to tag this to the end of the Spark conversation. But Valiant's also been looking very good now.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Well,
been,
they got 3 wins. Good.
yeah.
A a decent map differential, still negative, but it's decent.
I think Valiant's season playoffs chances are basically gone,
Yeah.
along with
Yeah.
many other teams. But there's a chance for Valiant. There's not a chance for some other teams, but there's a chance for Valiant because they've actually been looking quite good.
I think we can kind of I think we can kind of take out like Paris, Valiant, Outlaws, Justice, Mayhem from the state or the league playoffs.
I think of those, Valiant has the best chance because all of those teams have looked bad and then continued to look bad. Some of them have had like up and downs, but most of them have looked bad and then continued to look bad. But
yeah,
Valiant,
it'd just be hard for Valiant.
Valiant had a really bad first stage, but they're climbing rapidly.
Yeah.
Like I think KSF has finally gotten over his stage nerves because he's been doing nuts.
Yeah. They'll probably need to win 6 games for the next 2 stages, though, because there are 3 wins. So they'd go up to 9 and then 15, which I think will just be enough. Actually, they could squeak into play-in tournament, but
yeah, I think
it'll take a lot.
Honestly, I bet that's. I mean, obviously they're playing to win every single game 4-0, but like my guess is like they're probably playing for the play-in tournament at this point.
Yeah. I forget about the play-in tournament when I look at the standings because there's no indication of it anywhere.
Yeah.
And it even says postseason playoffs cutoff.
Yeah.
There's no like.
They should have
F12,
like another little dotted section that says play-in tournament or something. All right. So that was the Spark and quick Valiant discussion. Now, let's talk about the Washington Justice.
Now, this is probably, if we had to give the podcast a team, it'd probably be the Justice.
Because we bagged on them so hard preseason, and even early stage 1, we were like, this team is so trash. You hate San Sam and want him out of the league.
Oh. I'd like a little gravy on the team. I think that'd be better.
If we could pour some gravy all over this team, it would be so nice.
Do them up like a turkey, baby.
The reason I like Washington so much is because they had a bunch of struggles early on. They were trying to find their footing. They spent too much money on Wizard Hyung and Yanis, had no money to pay anybody, had no money to get anybody else good. They lucked out like crazy with Corey.
Yeah.
He hard carries the team, but the team was just incredibly underwhelming. And they seemed to want to go mostly Korean. Now, they're picking up more good Western players because I think they're starting to realize Korean doesn't necessarily equal good. So they're finding players who are good at their roles, good at communicating. Obviously, they've still got a ton of stuff to work out. Like, the Washington-Boston game wasn't clean, but they won it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Boston, real quick, Boston stopped Gladiators from getting a lossless stage and then stopped Justice from getting a winless stage.
Yeah.
So good
They
for
just like
Boston for ruining Gladiators Day and making Washington's Day.
good job, Gladiators
But Washington, I don't know.
or Boston.
Their players are just really likable at this point. Like Corey, Sleepy, Ark, they're all like they're all likable. So
And
you're
they're
kind
all
of rooting
good
for them.
too,
Yeah.
because it's a good team. Like it's a team that's getting better. Sleepy's probably one of the, well, he is the best NA flex support.
NA.
Arc is NA. Arc is
It just sounded like you said any, as in like of any flex support.
better than Jonak.
Yeah.
It's
lot of
the
people
hair.
you've been gone a bit. Not most, but a lot of people are saying Twilight is better than Jonak now. Like a lot of people.
Yeah, I have to watch a lot more Vancouver
They're
to figure that out.
nuts. Especially if you watch the game against Atlanta, Jonak did not look good. Like Jonak was honestly, and other people were saying this too, but Jonak was honestly probably the worst player for New York in that game.
It's because Atlanta realizes like, oh, if you take out their best player,
well,
they're probably not going to do great.
The thing is, I think what most people have been doing against New York is going, Jonak's the best player. They focus all of their resources into Jonak. We get rid of him, we win. But I think what Atlanta did was they realized all the resources were going into Jonak, so they focused people like Nene and Mono because they were getting none. But once they're gone, and like Bren was talking about it at halftime, they were like, he was like, I think New York's play style is outdated.
Well, now it is, because like they haven't changed anything in it. I don't think they will.
No.
So it's surprising that other teams haven't figured out how to play them yet.
Yeah.
Because they still did only lose 2 games.
But the thing is, people wrote off the first Atlanta win against New York as 2 things. They wrote it off as, oh, this is just something New York does. They just choke sometimes. And then they also wrote it off as like a fluke. Like Atlanta was just playing well that day.
Mm-hmm.
But then they did it again. So not only does that solidify Atlanta Reign as being a team that is able to actually coordinate together and pull off big plays, but it also shows that New York isn't just a team that throws sometimes. It's a team that has weaknesses. And Atlanta figured it out.
Yeah. And
also, are we talking about Atlanta now, or are we talking about... We'll go back to Washington, but we're talking about Atlanta now.
What was I saying? Oh, well, yeah, they have a good team. Like, Corey's good, Sleepy's good, Ark's good. Giannis is good sometimes. I think their biggest weakness now, because their support line's probably one of the better ones. If you took it and gave it to, like, Houston, they'd be a much higher win team. So I think they've just got to update the tanks. Otto, of course, is good. Plays Brigida, though, so you don't really notice him that much.
There was one play where it was against Shanghai where Corey saw Gamsu dropping down. It was on Gibraltar. Saw Gamsu dropping down from the spaceship on second point. So he graved to catch Gamsu in the grav so that they could kill him and win the fight and win that map. But then Otto was Brigida and whip shot him back up onto the high ground, and the grav got nothing. And a lot of people... First, people were like, wow, Corey threw his grav. Then people were like, oh, Otto whip shot it. He threw Corey's grav. But then people were like, it could either be Corey just didn't mention, hey, I'm going to grav right now. Like, oh, I'm graving. Or like, I'm going to solo grav or whatever. And then, or like he didn't say that, and then Otto just didn't know and he did it. In which case, Otto's in the right. Like, get rid of that guy. Or Corey did say that and Otto still did it, in which case it's Otto's fault.
Yeah, there might be... They are professionals, but there is a time like when I'm playing where there'll be something and out of just instinct I'll do something and it'll be like, oh well, that's a dumb thing to do there, Calder.
Yeah.
So it
Like
could be that.
there's a lot of times where you'll do something and then your team will be like, why didn't you just say? And I'm like, I don't know, because in my head it's obvious.
Yeah, it's like I know what I'm doing.
So my guess is that's what happened. Anyway, but the point is, like, pretty much all the players are like quite good. It's just some coaching and communication stuff needs to be figured out for Washington. Yeah. Now, Washington did win, and Sleepy did promise his teammates ice cream if they won, and then bought all of them ice cream. Cost him around $100. And he did have an awkward missed handshake with Mika in that post-game interview that was very wholesome, but also very cringe, and gave me flashbacks to Seagull. Now, I've written a little something.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Is it a song?
No. But I'm gonna need
a poem?
you. I'm gonna need you to
drop a beat.
No.
Oh.
Music will be added in post, and by music I mean angelic noises. I have written Washington's prayer. So here we go. O wizard Hyung, who art in Washington, to justice be thy name. Thy coaching come, thy games be won, on stage as they are in scrims. Give us this stage our single win, and forgive us our choking, as we forgive those who choke against us. And lead us not into throwing, but deliver us from Pepegatir. For thine is the standings, the map record, and the glory, until next season. Amen.
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 Are you going to church again because you're at home? Is that what's happening?
I don't know. I was just at work today, and I'm like, that's
so funny.
I was like, just because I thought of the lead us not into throwing, but deliver us from Pepegatir, because they just made it out of that tier, because they showed that they can win and they're improving. So that line made me laugh, so I wrote the rest when I got home. But yes,
nice.
That is officially Washington's prayer. I'll tweet it out so that everybody else can also say this prayer at night to help Washington win. Before they go.
I just watched a TV show on Netflix, and the mom was like a super crazy Christian lady, and the one daughter was dying of some shit, I don't know. But she'd always be like, pray for your sister. Pray every night and things will get better. So I think we should force our few fans to pray every night for Washington.
Please say Washington's prayer on your knees at your bedside every single night to help Washington win. You don't have to do it till stage 3 because they're not playing in playoffs. Unless you want to give them some extra.
Well, honestly, you should do it because the Overwatch League gods want consistency. So you should start now, and then by the time we get into stage 3, the power will be so grand that Washington will beat Dallas in week 1. And that's what will happen if you pray. If you don't, then it's your fault.
Yeah. For every single one of you who doesn't cite Washington's prayer every night, you are the reason this team is not winning.
Yeah. And if anyone gets fired, it's your fault. Kate Mitchell's firing is your fault if you don't say Washington's prayer. I know it happened a stage ago. But
by the way, real quick, apparently, and it was confirmed on Twitter, Kate Mitchell was at the game where they won, and she was fist bumping and clapping so hard she dislocated her shoulder and had to go to the ER.
Jesus Christ.
Which is hilarious. Not that you dislocated your shoulder, but that's just funny. You can't admit that's not. I mean,
I don't know what Kate Mitchell looks like.
I only knew her Twitter picture,
which I don't think is what she looks like because it's also a cartoon.
That is true. No cartoons look like humans.
Have you seen The Simpsons?
The last team we're going to quickly discuss.
Have you seen Family Guy?
Those don't look like people.
Yeah, it's so true. One of them's got a fucking Hey Arnold head. Did you almost throw up? What was that?
I was about to do one of my breath laughs, you know, the wheezing ones. Except I put my tongue to the top of my mouth and it blocked it.
Nice.
Now, Shanghai is the last team we're going to talk about. They, as we mentioned before, they gave Shock their hardest match this stage. And Shanghai has been... I think Shanghai is at the bottom of the good tier.
Well...
Because I feel like there's the best, there's good, there's decent, there's bad, and then there's dog trash. And I feel like they're the bottom of the good.
I think Chengdu is bottom of good.
I think Chengdu's top of decent.
Top of decent, okay. I could see that.
Now, obviously, if we had our power rankings right here, which, by the way, I'm debating that maybe after stage 2, since it's half season, we should start doing some sort of power rankings thing.
Okay. Like every week, or?
Yeah, maybe not even on the podcast, but just like a quick thing.
Okay.
But yeah, Shanghai's, I think they are the last of the good teams.
Yeah, I could see that.
They can beat most teams.
Yeah, but on a good night they can.
And they can put up a good fight against Shock.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to like
win
4-0 Titans or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it fits with where they are in the standings because they're 500, 7 games, 7 losses, which is with Seoul, Atlanta, Toronto, Boston.
Yeah.
So those are all good teams.
I'd say they're about Seoul level. I think they're probably pretty on par with Seoul.
Yeah. Well, that's what their record says, silly.
Wow. Would you look at that? The numbers don't lie. I think that's pretty much it as far as teams, but we should touch on predictions.
There was one more thing I thought of, and we can just do a little quickie dicky flick my bicky, if you know what I mean.
I don't like that.
Flick my bic lighter.
Pen.
Disgusting.
Are you going to say it?
Oh, the discrepancy between the conferences. Now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely talk about that.
I saw a Reddit post on this, which made me think about it, and then I stopped thinking about it, and then I looked at the standings, and they have these little 3-letter things next to them, and then I said, oh, that's a good thing to think about. Also, the All-Star teams, but we'll talk about that later, because those kind of made me angry.
Let's talk about them next week.
The Pacific Division is much better than the Atlantic Division.
Emphasis on much.
Now this will go in waves, obviously, as the league goes along its like course, because last year Atlantic was much better. Because if we look at last season, the top 3 teams were Atlantic. Or that's stage 1, but it was New York, Valiant, Pacific, Boston, LA, London, Philly, Houston. So,
man, it's so weird hearing Houston that high. That is so strange.
Yeah, it is. 5 Atlantic in the top 7 to 2 Pacific.
Yeah. And now I think what the Reddit post was, it was like of the times that Pacific teams faced off against Atlantic teams, Pacific has won 22 out of 25. Was that right?
I'm not sure if that's the exact number, but it was something
pretty much
ridiculous.
All I know is that Atlantic won 3.
Yeah.
And Pacific won the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big ol' yikes, boys.
It is. Now, if we look at the standings, and we look at the top 8 in the league overall, Okay. We've got 3 Atlantic, 5 Pacific. That's not true. Yes, it is. I lied. I'm sorry. That is true. I thought I said the wrong numbers. Then you go down, you have Seoul, and then a couple Atlantic teams. But at the top, Atlantic is outperforming because there's the, of course, S tier, which has Shock and Titans
Yeah.
in it. There's no really second good team in the Atlantic, which is, I think, why this is so prevalent. Because you have 2 powerhouses in one conference.
Yeah.
And then you just have New York, kind of.
I think they expected. I mean, they're not planning for this is probably one of the last things they think about is which conference is doing better.
Mm-hmm.
But they probably thought that New York and London would do better. Like New York's doing well.
Yeah.
But like,
and even like Philly, they probably thought would do better.
Yeah.
Because Philly is a top 8 team, but they're also not a top 8 team, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think they're probably a 10th team.
It's just very strange.
And even when you're watching the games, you don't think about it, but if you look at it, it's like Pacific usually wins. And that's just kind of a fact.
Yeah.
And it's mainly Vancouver or Shock game, you kind of know who's winning every time. Same with the New York.
It's not a who's
game.
going to win, it's who's are they going to 4-0 or not?
Yeah. Which is we didn't talk about this with the Shock, but I was kind of bored by the Shock this stage because it's like they have an easy stage and also they're just going to roll over most of the teams that they play.
I think it was fun near the end because it was like,
are
they going to lose a map?
Yeah. But in the middle, I was like, I kind of missed the Shock from last season where there was...
You miss them being bad.
All
last
season... You didn't let me finish,
wait a second. Though. All last season, you were like, they're just waiting for season 2 and they're going to roll. And now that they're rolling, you're like, I'm bored.
I didn't want them to be this good.
You didn't want them to be the best team.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be like, I don't know.
Here's
like
why
the Gladiators.
I like the Shock right now, because not only are they crushing, but they're also showing way more personality than they did last season.
Well, they've got a bunch of big boy personalities on the team too, which is
like Super. Good. Like is so
Super's
hilarious.
got enough personality for his own team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Sinatra used to have a ton, but he's kind of toned it down after the whole like.
He's toned it down a bit, but like he's
don't
still
post Pepe the Frog.
He's still like he teabagged. He was teabagging some people.
Yeah, I saw him teabag a couple boys. I saw Baby Bay teabag
Jonak.
Some boys in that. Yeah.
He teabagged Jonak because like they pretty much won the team fight, and Jonak hid in a bush.
Yeah.
And then
it's like, what are you doing?
Just like got him, and then was like. Do you ever want to see me do that again?
Maybe in person.
Okay, I won't do it now then. I'll do it next time.
Next time.
Anyway. Yeah, the divisions are a little divided. I find it hilarious that you kept preaching how good Shock would be in season 2, and now you're like, they're too good.
Well, because here's the thing. I didn't know. I was just like, they've got a young team. They'll probably be better next season. So I'm just going to say they're going to be better next season, and then hopefully they'll be better next season.
And now they are better next season. And are you happy?
Yeah. Because, like, I want them... Well, here's the thing. I bet on them, so...
That's true.
Like 3 months ago.
By the way, my credit card can't, like, blocked, like, adding funds to, like, this betting website, but I was going to put $40 on Atlanta for the New York game.
What were the odds?
Just for funsies. It was like 6, like for every $1 I'd get 6 back for Atlanta.
Jesus.
So I would have made bank, boy. But they rejected my credit card because apparently
you would have made $240.
That's decent.
When you said 800, I was surprised, but it's because I didn't realize that math was the thing.
Yeah.
Because 800 is a lot to get. That's like betting on Florida to
I
win,
did
beat
not
anyone.
think you would believe me. I thought it was just going to be a shrug off joke, but then I had to be like,
Well, that you bet on a team?
no, that I made $800. I thought you would not believe that.
Well, because then you were like, I'm going to get a lightsaber, and I was like, I guess it's...
And then I did get a lightsaber.
Also, when you do get... You didn't?
No, I did.
Okay. I thought you lied about that to me, too.
No.
When
I
you
would
do get
never
it,
lie
though,
about
you have to hold it for an entire podcast.
Show it on podcast. Without cutting myself, that'll be tough. It's a laser. Thank you, everybody.
How do they control the laser so well?
I think that is it. Actually, let's do some playoff
predictions.
Just some real quickies. We can only do the first 4 games because we don't know what's going to happen after that.
We can go.
Really
I think last stage we went like, we pick them, and then we pick out of the winners we pick who we think would win, and then the ultimate winner.
Okay, but we have to remember that it's lowest seed versus highest seed. It's not like Thursdays to Saturday or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Shanghai versus Shock. Shock.
Yeah. As good as Shanghai is, like, I think Shock will clap them because they literally just clapped them.
Yeah. So now Shock
and
the only thing that gave them trouble was their Sombra.
Mm-hmm.
And Super was like, we're just gonna work really hard on fighting against Sombra so that we crush them.
Also, Krusty's a god, so.
Oh, of course. But that sounded sarcastic, but he is. So the Shock are our number 1 seed. Hangzhou versus London. I'm going to say Hangzhou.
Me too. Now Hangzhou's a number 7.
Okay.
So just remember that.
New York versus Gladiators. I think New York, but I wouldn't be surprised if Gladiators.
I'll say New York too, because I've only seen Atlanta beat them.
They've only lost to Atlanta, so.
Yeah, so.
Although Gladiators look really good. I could easily see Gladiators winning, but I'm going to say New York. So New York is our 3rd seed. And Dallas versus Vancouver.
Yeah. So it'll be
Shock versus Hangzhou, New York versus Vancouver. Shock versus Hangzhou, Shock.
Yeah.
And
Shock.
New York versus Vancouver. I think Vancouver, but man, that'll be a good game.
Yeah, I think Vancouver. What if New York just chokes again? And then doesn't get to play Vancouver?
Man.
And
then
so now we've got Shock Vancouver in the finals.
I'm gonna say Shock.
I think Shock wins this time.
I think
hands Vancouver the first loss of the season, baby.
They looked so good end of stage 1, and somehow they've looked even better. Like we said, obviously they had a somewhat easy schedule, but like they look so clean.
And it helps them to practice their plans because it's not like Vancouver's doing anything crazy.
No.
They're just playing goats. So all the Shock's plans are for teams playing goats.
Yeah.
Now, Vancouver's more aggressive in the way they play, which could change things a little bit, but I'm sure that Shock can figure that out.
I wouldn't be surprised if, since Shock knew that they had a somewhat easy stage, obviously they practiced for each team, but I wouldn't be surprised if they spent a lot of the stage actually practicing for Vancouver.
Yeah, I could see that.
So,
because practicing for Vancouver is like practicing for every team, basically, because you're just practicing to play the best. Yeah. So, anyway.
All right. So we think Shock's gonna win it for this stage.
Get that sweet money.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments and on Twitter. You can tweet us at the Broverwatch. You can tweet at me at I'm a Dumb Cook and Calder at Calder100. Or is it Calder _? I always forget.
I don't even remember. I'm going to say underscore. I think underscore.
Calder.
It's just me and making a stupid face.
Yeah, I think it's called. You'll find him, dude.
It'll be linked.
It's in the description of the YouTube video. So, yeah, be sure to check those out. And remember to say Washington's prayer every night. Help Washington out. And we will catch you, boys and girls.
If you don't, Kate Mitchell's arm will stay detached from her body.
You're cursing her.
No, I'm helping her.
No, not you specifically. The people who aren't praying.
Yeah.
Pray for justice. Hashtag pray for justice. Hashtag Washington's prayer.
We're the children of justice. Justice. Instead of children of light, I changed it. Okay. Remember you called us that at the start, and now we're children of justice.
That's true. Children of
That's
justice.
our cult.
Should I read it one more time or just play the recording of me already doing it after the outro?
Read it. Read it one more. Oh, no. Yeah, read it one more time.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Read it one more
that took so long.
I was going to say, do you want me to send you the text so that we can say it together? But we're on Discord and there's a delay, so that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, that'd be bad. Yeah.
So here we go. To close off the podcast. Oh, yeah. O wizard young, who art in Washington, to justice be thy name. Thy coaching come, thy games be won, on stage as they are in scrims. Give us this stage our single win, and forgive us our choking, as we forgive those who choke against us. And lead us not into throwing, but deliver us from Papegateer. For thine is the standings, the map record, and the glory. Until next season. Amen.
Amen. I kind of forgot that I'm supposed to say amen at the end.
I was waiting. All right.
What if I just started crying?
Yeah, you lift up and there's just tears streaming. Look who finally decided to show up.